So today I'm going to be sharing something that a lot of you have been asking. How do I build my finger strength? How do I build my finger speed on the bass? Which have actually led to questions like how long have you been playing the bass? When did you start playing the bass? Now, whether you're just a beginner or an intermediate bass player, this will help you play faster and cleaner and more controlled with your play. Emphasis on controlled with your play. Now, this video is going to break down into 4 sections, and I know you don't want to miss any section, because one section you miss is going to affect the next section you want to jump into. So let's get into the video. Now, one of the first things I want us to look at is, why do finger strength and speed matter? Why is every bass player actually worried about their finger strength, about their finger speed, how fast they can play? Now, first thing I want you all to know is this, and I want you all to repeat after me. Speed is not about rushing, but control. Let's say it again. Speed is not about rushing, but control. So most times when we talk about speed, what comes to your mind? Being able to play fast. Now, what if you can play very fast, but you cannot control what you're playing? And if you remember at the beginning of this video, I actually told you guys that we're going to be looking at both your cleanliness as a bass player, clarity as a bass player. So it's not about rushing, it's not about being able to play fast, but also being able to control what you're playing. So you can play very fast, but then you don't know how to control your speed. It's just like a car driving without brake, right? So you're playing very fast, but you don't know where to stop. Maybe you play in a league, you don't know that you're going to your 4, and you don't know how to resolve at your 4. There's a problem. Okay, so today I'll be showing you guys exactly what I practice to improve that. Now, this is where the finger strength comes in. Finger strength gives you the control over your speed, especially when you're grooving, when you're soloing, or you're playing for a very long time, right? Now, you can play very fast. That's finger speed. But when you don't have control over what you're playing, that's where you lack finger strength, right? So what you're playing, you cannot maintain this particular groove for the next 5 minutes. It's a lot of points to look at. Okay, now on the next section of this video, what you're going to be looking at is my finger warm-up. Now, before anything else, you always know that finger warm-up is one of the most emphasized, and the chromatic scale is also one of the most emphasized, but most times looked down on. Now, before you think that this chromatic scale is for newbies, let's watch this video from a legend. I know on the video we just watched, that was not the chromatic scale exercise, but take note of the first caption on the video and see how even these legends don't joke with the most basic exercise. Now let's look at the chromatic scale and the importance of the chromatic scale. Now, on the chromatic scale we have, now one of the things I like to do is that I like to always play this exercise from the widest part of the fret down to the closest part. I've seen a lot of people that complain that they can play here, but they cannot play here, which is the middle part of the fret. And some people complain that they can play here, vice versa, they can't play here. Some they can play here comfortably at any tempo, any BPM, but they cannot play here. So now this is what I do. I practice the chromatic scale, and I'm going to tell you why I practice the chromatic scale every day. Now, when you stop practicing, your fingers tend to shrink, like it locks. So this, playing it on this wider part of the fret helps you to expand your fingers, like I'm doing now. Do you see? What I'm doing is that I'm trying to make sure that each finger stays on each fret, right? Playing it, and then it starts to close back, and then opens again, like that, up and down. Now, I make sure that my right hand, which is my plucking finger, is making sure that it's maintaining that consistent 1 2 1 2 feel, and then 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. Now this creates some form of finger independence, which we're going to be looking at in the next section, right, of this video, which makes my right hand and my left hand independent. So when I'm playing, if I'm moving from any string, this finger follows it, that coordination that you see. Now on the next section of this video, finger independence, which I already mentioned earlier. Now, I always focus on building finger independence to help each finger be the boss of their self. I'm going to explain what I mean by that, especially my right hand and my left hand. Very, very important. Now, if you're not building this form of finger independence between your fingers, right? If I want to play something that my index finger is supposed to play, my middle finger will be dragging to play with it. Now, earlier, some days back, I actually explained a video where I was showing you guys the Makusa technique I did with I'll show you guys how I alternate between and then. Now this is where most bass players miss it. Now when you try to play something, you discover that your finger are dragging positions. Let's first of all fix this. There's a technique called one finger per fret technique. I obey that technique so much, right? So whatever exercise I'm creating or I'm doing, I make sure that this finger takes charge of whatever note falls under this finger, this finger, this finger. Now this is where the finger exercise called the spider movement gets to play, right? Now we have something like this. Now what did you guys notice here now? Now I have each of my fingers playing something different in a different arrangement of the normal setting you have on your major scale, which is going to be. Now once your brain can master this particular setting, right, you just find it easy to play. But what happens when you try to play something different, right? This is where that finger independence start coming in. At first when you try it, you discover that this finger is not obeying what you're doing, because in the bass guitar or playing the bass guitar, one of the weakest finger you will find is this finger. Now this is one of the exercises I used to build this finger, my ring finger. Now I like to play the minor scale like this. That was not the exact thing I played, but now reason for this exercise is because if I keep playing just the major scale as the only exercise I do to build my fingers, you will discover that this ring finger plays only once on the major scale. And as at then, I was struggling with playing between my, you see this finger like this now. I always struggle with it. So to fix it in the position is always a problem for me. So playing this minor scale helped a lot. So now on the last section of this video, I'm going to be giving you guys practice tips that worked for me. First thing I recommend if you want to master this is don't rush. Always use a metronome. I'm not using a metronome for this video because of some certain reasons. Now always use a metronome or a drum loop. You can go on YouTube, search for a drum loop that you can use that has a consistent time signature on it. So that way when you miss a click, you're going to know that you're out of track. Now the next thing, focus on timing. That's why you need to practice with the metronome. So when you miss the click, you'll be able to know that you are out of the pace. It's very important. Now the next practice tip I'm going to show you guys is how I try to also spice up my exercises, right? I'm going to play a drum loop and show you guys what I do in this drum loop. You can use any drum loop you want to use for this exercise. Let's get into it. So what I'm going to be doing on this exercise is basically the spider movement. But what I'm doing in the spider movement is infusing it in a genre of music. So I'm using like a Ghanaian kind of loop to show you guys. So we have, you see that? Instead of just playing the 1, 2, 3, 4 metronome, make it 4. Notice when I missed the time because I was talking, I was able to come back. Now let's try to play the chromatic scale on this same exercise. So whichever way you want to do this exercise, just make sure that you are using a backing track or a metronome to do that. I'm going to see you guys in the next video. Peace.